I want to do something special now, especially for one person. And this is for the lady sitting right there, my mother, Mrs. Ray Cash. It's for you, Mama. For you, Mama, and for your sister Edna down in Fordyce, Arkansas, and all of our friends and neighbors in Arkansas. The moving Edna St. Vincent Millay poem, The Ballad of the Harpweaver. Son, said my mother when I was knee-high, you've need of clothes to cover you and not a rag have I. There's nothing in this house to make a boy's breeches, nor shears to cut a cloth with, nor thread to take stitches. Nothing in this house but a loaf end of fry and that harp with a woman's head that nobody will buy. And she began to cry. That was in the early fall, and when came the late fall, son, she said, the sight of you makes your mother's blood crawl. Little skinny shoulder blades sticking through your clothes, and where you get a jacket from, God above knows. It's lucky for me, lad, that your father's in the ground and can't see the way I let his son go around. And she made a queer sound. Well, that was in the late fall, and when winter came, I'd not a pair of breeches nor a shirt to my name. Couldn't go to school nor out of doors to play, and all the other little boys passed my way. But, son, said my mother, come climb on my lap, and I'll chafe your little bones while you take a nap. And all but we were silly for half an hour or more, me with my long legs dragging on the floor, a rockin' to a Mother Goose rhyme. Oh, we were happy for half an hour's time. But there was I, a great boy, and what would folks say to hear my mother singing me to sleep all day in such a daft way? Men say the winter was bad that year. Fuel was scarce, food was dear. A wind with a wolf's head howled about our door, and we burned up the chairs and sat up on the floor. All that was left us was a chair that we couldn't break, and that harp with a woman's head that nobody would take for song or pity's sake. The night before Christmas, I cried with the cold. I cried myself to sleep like a 2-year-old. And in the deep night, I felt my mother rise and stare down upon me with love in her eyes. And then I saw my mother sitting on that one good chair, a light falling on her from, I couldn't tell where, but looking 19, not a day older. And that harp with a woman's head leaned against her shoulder, and her thin fingers moving in the thin, tall strings were weaving wonderful things. And many bright threads from where I couldn't see were running through the harp strings rapidly. And gold threads whistled through my mother's hands, and I saw a web grow and a pattern expand. And she wove a child's jacket, and when it was done, she laid it on the floor and wove another one. She wove a red cloak so regal to see, she's made that for a king's son. I said, it couldn't be for me, but I knew it was for me. She wove a pair of breeches, and quicker than that, she wove a pair of boots and a little cocked hat. She wove a pair of mittens, she wove a little blouse. She wove all night long in that still, cold house. And she sang as she worked, and the harp strings spoke, but her voice never faltered, and the thread never broke. But when I awoke, there sat my mother with that harp against her shoulder, looking 19, not a day older. A smile about her lips and a light about her head, but her hands were on the harp strings, frozen dead. And piled up beside her and toppling to the skies were the clothes of a king's son, just my size. It's called The Christmas Guest. hours in, some neighbors called on an old-time friend, and they found his shop so meager and mean, made gay with 1,000 boughs of green. And old Conrad was sitting with face ashine, and he suddenly stopped as he stitched the twine, and he said, "My friends, at dawn today, when the cock was crowing the night away, the Lord appeared in a dream to me, and he said, 'I'm coming, your guest to be.' So I've been busy with feet astir, strewing my shop with branches of fir. The table is spread and the kettle is shine, and over the rafters the holly is twined. And now I'll wait for my Lord to appear and listen closely, so I will hear his steps as he nears my humble place, and I'll open the door and I'll look on his face." Then his friends went home and left Conrad alone, for this was the happiest day he had known. For long since his family had passed away, and Conrad had spent many a sad Christmas day. But he knew with the Lord as his Christmas guest, this Christmas would be the dearest and best. So he listened with only joy in his heart, and with every sound he would rise with a start and look for the Lord to be at his door, like the vision that he had had a few hours before. So he ran to the window after hearing a sound, but all he could see on the snow-covered ground was a shabby old beggar whose shoes were torn and all his clothes were ragged and worn. But old Conrad was touched, and he went to the door and he said, "Your feet must be cold and sore. I have some shoes in my shop for you, and I have a coat to keep you warmer too." So with grateful hearts the man went away, but Conrad noticed the time of day. And he wondered what made the dear Lord so late, and how much longer he'd have to wait. Then he heard another knock, and he ran to the door, but it was only another stranger once more. A bent old lady with a shawl of black and a bundle of kindling piled on her back. But she asked only for a place to rest, but a place that was reserved for Conrad's great guest. But her voice seemed to plead, "Don't send me away. Let me rest for a while. It's Christmas Day." So Conrad brewed her a steaming cup, told her to sit at the table and sup. And after she had left, he was filled with dismay, for he saw that the hours were slipping away, and the Lord had not come as he said he would. And Conrad felt sure that he had misunderstood, when out of the stillness he heard a cry, "Please help me and tell me, where am I?" So again he opened his friendly door and stood disappointed as twice before. It was only a child who had wandered away and was lost from her family on Christmas Day. Again, Conrad's heart was heavy and sad, but he knew he could make this little girl glad. So he called her in and he wiped her tears, and he quieted all her childish fears. Then he led her back to her home once more. Then as he returned and entered his own darkened door, he knew that the Lord was not coming today, for the hours of Christmas had all passed away. So he went to his room and he knelt to pray, and he said, "Lord, why did you delay? What kept you from coming to call on me? I wanted so much your face to see." Then softly in the silence a voice he heard, "Lift up your head, I've kept my word. 3 times my shadow crossed your floor. 3 times I came to your lowly door. I was the beggar with bruised, cold feet. I was the woman you gave something to eat. I was the child on the homeless street. 3 times I knocked, 3 times I came in, and each time I found the warmth of a friend. Of all of the gifts, love is the best. I was honored to be your Christmas guest.